This is Neal.
Maritess.
And this is Laura. Welcome to MedSurg Moments, the AMSN podcast.
This podcast is an engaging look at the lives of and surrounding medical surgical nurses.
We're proud medical surgical nurses, just like you, sharing our stories, insights, and experiences to support you in your nursing journey.
When we think about the many ways AMSN touches our professional and personal lives on a daily basis, we may not always think about the vast amount of work taking place in the background, which makes it all possible.
While AMSN is led by a small army of volunteers to guide our way, it takes professional management and operations expertise to make it all a reality.
With us today to take us behind the scenes to see what keeps AMSN running is our new AMSN and MSNCB Executive Director, Matt Fenwick.
Matt has over 20 years of association management experience, having most recently served as the Chief Operating Officer of the American Organization for Nursing Leadership. He also serves in various roles across the American Hospital Association, including work on the AHA strategic plan, its partnership to eliminate healthcare disparities, and oversight of its personal membership group that included more than 33,000 members across 7 societies. Matt, welcome to MedSurg Moments.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Matt, we'd love to start by hearing more about you, your journey into healthcare, your interest in serving AMSN, MSNCB, and perhaps a little about your life outside of work.
If you had told me 20 years ago, here was the position I would have and in the spot I'm in, I would have looked at you kind of funny. For me, it was coming out of grad school, wanting to go to Washington, D.C., make some sort of difference, work in Capitol Hill, something political. That's all I really knew at that time. And literally got an opportunity / internship, part-time role with the American Hospital Association, where I ultimately spent about 20 years there. For me, associations really are almost like a mini world in themselves, a mini city. You have everything from advocacy, legislative side, to the quality side, working with the members. It's been just such a great opportunity. A lot of my hobbies or activities are all about things that try to either spend more time with my family or find a way to relax. Merge the two, and that's the 24 hours of my day usually.
Our members most likely aren't aware of the vast amount of work taking place behind the scenes to make AMSN and MSNCB possible. Talk about the difference that association management and operations makes in the lives of our members.
Nothing we do operationally in association could happen without the volunteers we have. Associations, if they're doing their job, especially on the operations side, you don't know it. If you think about IT, no one is down there thanking the IT department that their internet's working and coverage is good or the website's up and running. It's when something's wrong, you're going to get that call. That's the work we do. My goal ultimately is first and foremost the members, making sure we are giving them whatever they need. And then quickly behind that, and almost always related, is supporting healthcare. Medical surgical nurses are literally on the front lines of care. They are treating and healing those in need. I'm supporting those who are working to make things better. And that's enough for me to go home at night and sleep well, knowing that I played a small role in that.
Matt, I recently heard that AMSN will soon launch a new DEI tool and course. Tell us more about it.
We want to make sure every patient is given the care they deserve. They're given equal care. We are equitable in everything we're doing. We are really excited about this. It's been a long time coming. For those who are active AMSN members, they may have seen some of the teasers we've had on our website. We released the first module several months ago, but it all goes fundamentally back to the strategic plan and all the work everyone's trying to achieve to be as inclusive as we can be, as welcoming as we can be. We have a lot of people out there who are saying, I hear you, I want to make a difference, just tell me how. And I think this module, which is part of our Elevate series, really gets at that. We spent a great deal of time and focus on it, had any number of volunteers, board interaction, making sure we got things just right. It's been tested in such a way to give it validity and make sure we're teaching the right things. You can get some CUs out of it as well. We want to make sure everyone is included, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that happens.
With your experience serving the American Hospital Association as well as the Nursing Leadership Organization, how might AMSN increase partnerships with nursing schools and hospitals to serve as a resource to new and experienced nurses alike?
Wonderful question. I think associations do a wonderful job, but if they are going to go from good to great, partnerships are the only way to do it. Nursing associations, in my experience, I've heard estimates of 80 different nursing associations. That is a huge breadth and reach of members and associations that when there are particular issues that we can come together around, whether it's DEI or whether it's funding for nurses, to speak with that voice, whether it's 5 associations or the full 80, we will make sure we are talking to the right people for the issue. And so the dialogue we can have, the partnerships we can have with hospitals, health systems, or even hospital associations, it's only going to help us with all our work. Nursing's not always easy either. And medical surgical nursing is not always the easiest of the specialties. A lot of the work AMSN is doing is related truly to the work environment, to make sure they're safe, make sure the protections are in place, make sure they have proper staffing and feel like they're able to do their job effectively. If there's a hospital CEO listening or COO administrator listening, we'd love to partner with you guys, whether it's a system or one hospital, to see what we can do, whether it's group education we can provide, certifications through MSNCB, all of the above.
Wow, those are all great goals. Just to build upon that, can you take a minute to talk about the importance of nursing certification and the resources that you have available? I know a lot of our listeners are interested in pursuing certification, particularly about the review courses. What can you tell us about that?
MSNCB is our certification arm of AMSN. They are separate organizations, but at the same time, they work hand in glove for obvious reasons. First, let me say, if you're a medical surgical nurse, give strong consideration to certification. It checks so many boxes. From a pure career standpoint, you get that CMSRN after your name. That means something to either your current employer, to a future employer. It's not necessarily a slam dunk. You're going to have to put in some extra time when you already have a busy schedule, or if you're like me, you're running the kids to and from wherever they need to go. The idea of taking an extra hour or two every night or probably more may be pretty daunting. But it really does signify that you are committed to your patients, committed to growing, learning. There's also the community that you join. We have approximately 40,000 CMSRN certificates across the nation. We have approximately 11,000 members at AMSN. If you're a hospital seeking magnet designation, it's something that's helpful to you on that end. We put a lot of focus on our certification program and do everything we can on the AMSN side to support that. There's certainly firewalls between what MSNCB can provide certain things and where AMSN can provide certain things. That aside, AMSN is there to help anyone pursuing a certification through MSNCB. And that's our certification review courses we offer, our primary vehicle. There's both the individual side of that. If you just wanted to learn these things on your own, given your time, given your schedule, whatever it may be. But there's also group opportunities. If you can find some other coworkers on your end, some other nurses who are thinking about doing this, you get a group together. We can come to you, go on our website, check that out. There's also the study guides that are out there. Reach out, join AMSN, and you'll find any number of people who have either taken the test, pursuing it, and you can find a study group just as easy that way as well. But we are there to help.
I wanted to share with you, just recently in our organization, we had a group certification review, and it's excellent. Everybody said they had a great time. Learning experience was amazing. And one of the learners, the nurses who joined the review, took the test the next day and he passed. And he said the review course was very helpful and he was so glad that he joined the group session. So thank you for sharing all these, but I want to testify. It's amazing.
simply being with a group, simply challenging yourself. I think some people don't hear that story. And it's hard for us because someone goes through that and they say that was great and they tell their friends and colleagues. But if somehow I can get 5 or 6 more people from this podcast or from people like you to share that story, we'll put that out on our website. We'll share that information because it does not need to be a secret. It's a wonderful process. But thank you very much for sharing that.
I was lucky enough to have a manager that pushed me to get my certification. And through my certification, I've sat on a review question board. Throughout buildings, you will see people with their certification on their badge. And even patients will ask, well, what does it mean that you're certified? I feel a little bit better about it. I tell people, get certified, get certified. It's the best thing you do. And it just opens up so many more doors for experiences. Take us behind the scenes of MSNCB and tell us more about the work of a certification board.
Sure. So certification is both art and science. I think in a lot of ways, more science than art, but there is a certain innovation and uniqueness to it. And I say all that because the army of volunteers that we have, they're experts. They are medical surgical nurses who have practiced, whether it's 5 years, 30 years, 6 months. They get together to create what is a very sophisticated, high-level test. There's so much that goes into it, more than even I'll be able to elegantly sort of describe. The people who develop these tests are really good at honing in on what we know to be a good medical surgical nurse.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So just a little bit more on certification. So speaking about that, so here in the month following our recent virtual Nursing 101 episode, which we taped live at the AMSN convention, we're getting closer to the launch of the Certified Acute Care Virtual Registered Nurse Certification next year. Can you tell us a little bit more about that certification and the process to create the new certification?
We call it CAVRN, just the acronym here, but we are so excited to see this go live. And I think a matter of months, certainly in 2024, we'll see CAVRN launch. Some of this will be obvious to those who are listening, but COVID advanced so many practices that were already there and made permanent things that we talked about before it happened. But the virtual component of care is something that, of course, has been increased. And so many clinicians, nurses, caregivers had to go the virtual route without really any sort of foundational practice or learning behind that. Going back to what we were talking about with the CMSRN, you can practice and be a medical surgical nurse without a certification. But what a certification, what CAVRN will provide is really that rigor behind it and that analysis of what goes into being a good virtual nurse and how that applies. This is certainly a great opportunity for us, a chance for us to get out front of what is an important issue. And I think also part of it is we're going to learn ourselves. We're beta testing this right now. What's working, what's not. Having the conversations about what goes into being a good virtual nurse is important. We can provide better care to the patient with this conversation and with the application of the CAVRN certification.
CAVRN, we've been talking about it at work and everybody's excited about it. And the fact that we're putting a standards out there, there's a certification to validate a specialty. I think that's important that AMSN recognizes that there's a need and for us to be at the forefront, as you said. Who else better to establish that but medical surgical nurses, because we are the primary care nurse working with the nurses, and the virtual care nurse is an extension of that. And so thank you for that.
You actually captured it better than I. It's the standardization, it's the validation of the work that's going out there, and it really just raises the bar.
What are the key goals and priorities for AMSN and MSNCB as we look towards 2024?
We have more goals than we're going to have time to achieve, but that's the sign that you have a good board that's given it a lot of careful thought, and you have a membership that is really hungry for information and work from their association. The lifeblood of any association is their membership. We're constantly trying to make sure our membership is growing. And one of the ways to do that is chapters. We have many chapters already, but I think it's time, especially since COVID, to give it more attention. It may literally be one or two people in a hospital who find two or three other people in a hospital who share similar interest in medical surgical nursing, and they can very quickly form a quick chapter. We support that. And from that, it starts to grow itself. AMSN can give them tools that'll help them grow. When you have a chapter system, it becomes this flow of information that everyone benefits from. If you see something happening in a particular state or locality, that's probably a early warning that something's going off, or it's a great way to identify a new practice or an improvement that we can share. And that flows up to the national level. We can get that back out. We have to make sure the legislation and regulatory bodies are making the right choices and protecting nurses or supporting nurses. But at the end of the day, it goes back to the question about partnership. It just grows the like-minded people who share interest of supporting medical surgical nurses. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to achieve. The other big priority is just to make sure we continue to have a seat at the table with all things that are going on in Congress, that when we come knocking on the door of Senator X or Representative Y, they know what our issues are. And most importantly, if we can bring sort of a mini army behind us, they know that if they vote the wrong way, the next time we're going to bring 100 of our friends and they're going to learn they probably should have voted a different way. And that helps everyone. So those are just two. There's many more priorities, and it's exciting stuff.
This has been a great conversation, Matt. It has truly been a pleasure having you on this episode of MedSurg Moments. Thank you for sharing your time and expertise with us.
Thank you, guys. You guys made this easy. I appreciate the opportunity.
We look forward to connecting with you on the next episode of MedSurg Moments, the AMSN podcast. In the meantime, we want to hear from you. Send us your questions, topic ideas, and feedback via our official MedSurg Moments email address, amsnpod@amsn.org. That's amsnpod@amsn.org.
I'd also like to remind you to become a member of AMSN or renew your membership at www.amsn.org. You receive lots of cool benefits and perks, such as discounted pricing on the annual convention of continuing education.
We encourage you to help us spread the word and subscribe to the MedSurg Moments podcast via your smartphone podcast app to receive notifications of future episodes. Please be sure to leave us a review and recommend MedSurg Moments wherever you get your podcasts to help us reach even more listeners.
The content within the MedSurg Moments podcast represents the views, thoughts, and opinions of the co-hosts and may not necessarily reflect the views, thoughts, and opinions of the Academy of Medical Surgical Nurses. Until next time, I'm Laura.
Neal.
And this is Maritess. And always remember, MedSurg Moments is a moment in our lives, a moment in our MedSurg careers that makes a huge difference.